This daily dose is brought to you by Pirate.Black. ARRR!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back today. Now, 18 months ago now, I told everyone that this was going to happen, and now it looks like it has started. We are going to be talking about this stuff here. Cash, money. It doesn't matter if it's, euros or British pounds here or, US dollars. It makes no difference whatsoever. We're going to be talking about your money and why it is not safe. Inflation is the expansion of the monetary supply. That is what it is. That is inflation, inflating the monetary supply. Too much money printing. Okay, so now that we've established that, if all of these banks start to fail, the government's going to say, right, it's okay, with the central bank here, we're going to print more money. And then well, no, that makes no sense. If the cause of the problem in the first place would be, let's say, runaway inflation or people trying to pull their money out of the banks, which you won't see happening anymore. Why? Again, we've covered this numerous times. They're getting rid of the branches. They're getting rid of the ATMs. They're trying to make everything digital. Digital passports, everything digital, CBDC. So that way you can't go to the bank. That way you can't go to the ATM and withdraw cash. So that when everything falls and fails, they say, oh, don't worry, we'll print all this new currency. It's going to be digital. They simply haven't got the money there. So all these people, including many of you watching, who think, I'm not worried, the insurance provider's there, it's going to take care of everything. Good luck with that, because I do not trust any of them, and I'm not relying on any of these insurance schemes, which is what they are. So just a couple of weeks back now, the Bank of England says the UK's biggest lenders are no longer too big to fail. Again, this should be a huge national article, should be on every major news network, and yet it's not. So who does the Bank of England say will be first in line to bear the cost? Investors. Yes, investors. That means you, me and you. The Bank of England has concluded that emergency planning at the UK's biggest banks means none should require a public bailout in the event of a crisis. Oh, seems like good news, doesn't it? Until you get to this paragraph. Banks that get into serious difficulties can remain open and continue to provide vital banking services. How is that possible, you may ask? Well, with investors, not taxpayers, first in line to bear the costs. It's the same thing. You are a creditor to the bank. So they're saying, oh, no, don't worry, the taxpayer isn't going to pay it this time. Don't worry. No, of course you are. They're just doing it differently. Oh, no, it won't be a bailout. This time it'll be a bail-in. Don't worry, everyone will be fine. No, it doesn't matter either way. It's still your money that they're going to use to bail out these parasitic banks. And it's not just the banks now. Look what happened last week. We know that some of the crypto platforms froze accounts. So Binance was one of them. Also Babel, this was another one, put a freeze on withdrawals. Now, for those of you who think crypto is completely secure, nothing to worry about on these platforms, let me show you this. The crypto platforms have now come in line with the banks under bail-in law. Let me read this to you. In the event that Celsius becomes bankrupt, enters liquidation, or is otherwise unable to repay its obligations, any eligible digital assets used in the earn service or as collateral under the borrow service may not be recoverable, and you may not have any legal remedies or rights in connection with Celsius obligations to you other than your rights as a creditor of Celsius under any applicable laws. Well, yeah, that means you've got no rights because a creditor can be bailed in. Okay, now I warn you in advance, this article is from CNN, my least favorite news network in the world. This is crucial. This is what we've been leading up to in the video, and I'm going to tell you something else after this, which is very disturbing. China's bank run victims plan to protest, then their COVID health codes turned red. Liu, a 39-year-old tech worker in Beijing, arrived in the central city of Zhangzhou on Sunday with all the boxes ticked to travel under China's stringent COVID restrictions. He had tested negative the day before, his hotel had confirmed he could be checked in, and the health code on his phone app was green, meaning he had not been exposed to people or places deemed risks and was therefore free to travel. But when Liu scanned a local QR code next to the Zhengzhou train station, his health code came back red. A nightmare for any traveler in China, where freedom of movement is strictly dictated by a color code system imposed by the government to control the spread of the virus.
Local banks in one province froze tens of billions of yuan worth of deposits, estimated to be about $6 billion US. Everyone is mandated in China to have a QR code that tracks their exposure to COVID, and these funds have been frozen since April.
Anyone with a red code usually assigns people infected with COVID or deemed by authorities to be at high risk of infection immediately becomes persona non grata. They are banned from all public events and transport and are often subject to weeks of government quarantine. That all but derailed plans for Liu, who had come to Zhengzhou, the provincial capital of Henan province, to seek redress from a bank that has frozen his deposits. He had put his life savings into this bank and since April hasn't been able to withdraw a penny. Now let me ask you a question then, for all of those people who, oh, we need this COVID pass, we need these digital passports, oh, we need to do this for the children and everything else. Let me ask you something. Are you not terrified by what you've just seen there on that article? If not, I physically cannot get my head around that. I just cannot understand why so many people are loving these CBDCs and the push for a digital passport and everything else. Look what the government can do if you do not comply with what they want. These people, their bank bailed them in. They froze their accounts. So they go to peacefully protest, and what happens? Their app, their passport, their digital passport turns red, locking them out of the system. What are we seeing in the West? This push for this digital passport, this push for even in supermarkets to use this digital passport so you can't get food, this push for it on transport, this push for it in banking, this push everywhere, even in schools. It is so obvious. I don't understand how people can be so stupid. It is so obvious what is happening here and what is coming. And people are sleepwalking into this digital enslavement. It baffles me. Another protest was planned for Monday, but as the depositors arrived, they were stunned to find their health codes, which were green upon departure, had turned red. Dozens of depositors were taken into a quarantine hotel, so basically imprisonment, guarded by police and local officials before being sent away on trains bound for their hometowns the next day. Others were quarantined at several other locations in the city, including a college campus, according to the witnesses and online posts. Ladies and gents, I don't know what else I can do to keep warning you about these things. So many people either criticize, critique my videos, say it's all doom and gloom and nonsense and, oh, this is dumb and he's making it all up. It's happening right in front of your eyes, and yet people are blind to this. They simply cannot see it.
Follow the treasure to pirate.black, because financial privacy today is freedom tomorrow. ARRR!